I moved 2,000 miles, looking for a little peace. But by night 3, my hairbrush was doing a balancing act on the doorknob, and my keys were inside the freezer. No, I don't mean I just misplaced them. I mean something carried them there, right under my nose, while I was in the room. If you're sitting there, waiting for me to blame stress or jet lag, well, you're going to be waiting a long time. Tonight, I'm going to tell you exactly how I learned that attic room was already occupied and why I ended up leaving every single thing I owned behind, save for the clothes on my back. I had broken up, burned out, and basically bankrupted my patience, and frankly, my sanity, with the West Coast. A job offer in Virginia showed up like a literal lifeboat. I grabbed it, no questions asked. The Craigslist ad said cozy attic room, private bath, month to month, utilities included. The landlord mailed me photos, slanted ceiling, floral wallpaper straight out of the 70s, one window that stared at a church steeple. Cheap, quiet, anonymous. It was exactly what my weary soul needed. I signed the lease, sight unseen, with a desperate eagerness, and shipped 2 boxes and myself. When the cab dropped me off, the owner handed the keys through her car window and said, "Settle in, sweetie. And hey, just don't go poking around the attic storage, okay?" Then, without another word, she was gone. First red flag, sure, but I was so utterly drained. I honestly couldn't bring myself to care. I unpacked, ordered Thai, fell asleep, dead to the world by 9. At 2:13 a.m., I jolted awake, throat bone dry. My water bottle sat on the desk where I'd left it, but the cap was unscrewed and balanced precariously on top, almost like someone had taken a polite, careful sip. I blamed it on grogginess, chugged some water, and stumbled back to bed. My keys, though, were no longer in the cereal bowl I'd dumped them in. I found them on the windowsill, arranged perfectly parallel, their edges meticulously aligned. Again, I just muttered jet lag, pulled the covers up, and tried to will myself back to sleep. Sunrise revealed greasy fingerprints on the window glass, small, thin, child-sized. Previous tenants gotta be, I told myself, wiping the glass with a nervous wipe before brewing coffee and heading to my new office. Work was a blur of tedious onboarding PowerPoints, my brain still foggy from the night before. I came home, reheated leftovers, and crawled into bed, hoping Netflix could lull me into oblivion. Around midnight, the screen suddenly froze, pixels locking into a vacant stare. The remote? Gone. I tore apart the quilt, checked under the bed, finally found it centered on the desk chair, propped upright, almost like a tiny, silent sentinel. The batteries were reversed, positive where negative should be. Who does that? My stomach lurched, colder than the room's already chilly air. I said out loud, "Okay, I'm tired, I'm hallucinating." No answer, of course, but the bulb overhead began to dim, then brighten, then dim again, almost perfectly matching the frantic rhythm of my breathing. I yanked the lamp cord from the wall, threw open the window for some desperately needed air, and finally slept with the lights off. I didn't dream, or at least, I don't remember dreaming. The next day, fueled by a potent mix of fear and stubbornness, I hit the hardware store. I bought a whole battery of supplies, industrial-strength padlocks, a motion-activated camera, a bundle of sage, and 2 4-packs of bottled water. I filmed myself locking the door at 7 p.m., placing the keys inside a plastic box, snapping a padlock through its latch, then carefully placed a box on the dresser. I even live-streamed the feed to a private YouTube link. My thinking? Even if the SD card magically vanished, I'd have undeniable cloud proof. I looked directly into the lens and said, "If something moves this, we'll both know, won't we?" Then I clicked stop, lit the sage, wafted its smoky tendrils into every corner, and felt, honestly, monumentally stupid. I crawled into bed, repeating fresh start, like a mantra, trying to convince myself. I woke up to the sound of plastic cracking, loud, slow, like stepping on a water bottle. The room was utterly black. The street lamp outside, my only source of light, had gone out. Then a sickening crunch, 2 more bottles collapsing in on themselves. I fumbled frantically for my phone, my fingers clumsy with terror, finally flicking on its light. Every sealed bottle on my floor was dented inward, caps twisted off, water puddling, slowly, deliberately, toward the center of the room, as if someone had squeezed them empty with the malicious glee. And there on my pillow sat the padlock box, lid open, keys inside. The lock itself, however, was still unbroken, perfectly intact. The camera lay face down, its small red light still blinking, recording. I snatched it up, my hands shaking. Battery drained to 0. My breath a visible cloud, fogged in front of me. Despite the humid August heat, from the ceiling a single knock echoed, gentle, almost polite, like a broom handle tapping once on drywall. Then an absolute, suffocating stillness. No footsteps from upstairs, no distant voices, not even the chirping of crickets outside. Just the frantic, deafening drum of my own heartbeat slamming against my eardrums. If you're sitting there, wondering why I didn't just sprint out the door right then and there, well, try to picture it. New city, absolutely no friends yet, and it was my first week at a job I desperately needed. Sometimes, fight or flight just has to take a back seat to adult responsibilities, doesn't it? If you've ever found yourself staying somewhere you knew felt wrong, simply because the rent was paid and your suitcases were still in transit, hit that like button. Let me know I'm not entirely crazy. And if you're new around here, consider subscribing. Trust me, this story is far from over. The next morning, with a resolve I didn't know I had, I confronted the landlord by phone. She just laughed a hollow, dismissive sound. "Oh, honey, old house, weird pipes, you're fine," she chirped. I pressed her about previous tenants. She claimed the attic had been empty for months. A lie, I knew it. So, I walked straight to the public library. I spent hours pulling up local news archives from the past decade, sifting through microfiche until my eyes blurred. And then I found it. A 2-inch article, barely a blip, dated 8 years back. The headline chilled me to the bone. Local girl 11, missing after foster home fire. Last seen in attic conversion. The address? It was mine. Exactly. The accompanying photo showed a gap-toothed kid with straight black hair, clutching a worn stuffed rabbit. I just sat there in the humming microfilm aisle, fluorescent lights buzzing, until it felt like they were humming my name, drawing me deeper into the chill. Night 5. I came home to find every single hanger in my closet spaced exactly 2 fingers apart, my blouses meticulously ordered, from light to dark, like some unsettling fade chart. And then there was him. The stuffed animal I'd slept with since college, yes, okay, judge me, sat perfectly centered on the bed, paws neatly folded. I hadn't unpacked him. He was buried deep in box 2. His button eyes were warm, not just room temperature, but skin warm. I dropped him, scrambling backward into the hallway, and felt the air thicken around me, syrupy and heavy, pushing with an unseen force against my shoulders. Something tugged my ponytail, not playfully, but a sharp, deliberate yank. I whipped around, heart hammering. Nothing, just the faint, unmistakable smell of smoke, like a candle that had just been snuffed out. I whispered, my voice barely a tremor. "Okay, I'll go. You win." And just like that, the oppressive temperature normalized instantly, as if an invisible window had been thrown wide open. Oh, how I wish the story ended there. Me, packing a single bag, and ghosting. Pun absolutely intended. But night 6, that was the absolute peak. At 3:12 a.m., my mattress lifted. One corner rose slowly, deliberately, like an unseen car jack was raising it, tilting me violently to the floor. I landed on my feet, screaming, raw, primal sound. Every single drawer in the dresser slid open at once, clothes spewing out like a grotesque fabric waterfall. The desk lamp somersaulted through the air, its cord whipping wildly like a tail, before crashing against the wall, and the bulb, still burning defiantly. Then my phone rang, my own number, calling itself. I answered on speaker, my voice trembling. Through a thick veil of static, I heard it, a child, humming Ring Around the Rosie. Then a small, chilling voice, barely a whisper, asked to play. The bulb overhead exploded then, showering the room with glass. Darkness swallowed the room whole, and then something pressed against my shins. Soft, small, hands, pushing me, relentlessly, toward the door. I kicked free, grabbed nothing but my purse, a stupid, instinctive move, and bolted, barefoot, down 2 flights of stairs. The front door wouldn't budge. The deadbolt, I realized, was spinning uselessly in its housing. I pounded on the wood until my fists throbbed, raw and aching. Finally, with a click that sounded like a gunshot, the lock gave. I tumbled outside, shards of cut glass from the floor slicing into my soles, and sprinted blindly until that porch light was nothing more than a distant, malevolent star behind me. I spent what remained of that night huddled in a 24-hour laundromat, shaking uncontrollably, scrolling desperately through hostile listings, genuinely debating whether to call the police or check myself into a psych ward. At dawn, I limped to urgent care for stitches on my torn soles, then, still covered in grime and terror, went straight to work. I quit via email, effective immediately. By noon, a mover truck, hired with shaky hands online, was retrieving my boxes from the attic room. I waited across the street, never once setting foot back inside that house. The landlord, predictably, kept my deposit, citing early termination. But you know what? I happily let her. It was a small price for my sanity. I couch-surfed for 2 weeks, feeling like a refugee, before finally renting a studio 10 blocks away. The only odd sound there, the ice maker. My phone still holds that unlisted YouTube link. I checked it once, just once. The video ends abruptly at the moment the lamp levitates, then pixelates into nothing but static. No further frames exist. It's like whatever was there, it just erased itself. I still don't know if what lived in that attic was the missing girl herself, or something far more sinister, simply wearing her loneliness like a cloak. What I do know is that objects moved with undeniable purpose, an unsettling intelligence, and a growing, terrifying confidence. Every single night, it wanted to show me, unequivocally, that the room was hers, not mine. I've since met neighbors who swear this whole block creaks with its own stories, whispers in empty rooms, chairs moving on their own, TVs flicking on at 3 a.m. So, if you ever find yourself renting a place where the landlord speeds off before you even open the door, or where your keys just don't seem to stay where you left them, please, for your own sake, trust that gut feeling. Pack light, and if a small voice ever asks you to play, remember this. Some games don't end until the player disappears entirely. Stay safe out there, lock your doors, and maybe, just maybe, keep your suitcase half-packed. You know, just in case.